Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Foundational Architecture, written by Ludomastro. 12th November 2124. Obituary. John Dwayne Clanton, born 27th April 2091, died 10th November 2124. CIN is 5469985969453216. When you fall off your horse, you have to get right back on. John was a Clanton, was a wonderful brother, and an amazing uncle. He was a friend who was always there when you needed him. He leaves behind a love of programming and a hole in the hearts of those who knew him. Marissa couldn't help but laugh as she watched the AR feeds in her brother's obituary. She had used one of the few tridios where John both smiled and looked somewhat normal. He was laughing and wearing that ridiculous purple wizard's hat. He swore it helped him program, or, as he called it, do magic. Thanksgiving dinner this year was going to be a slog without John's eccentricities. He always seemed able to draw the best out of their parents. Mom would be extra morose this year. Dad would be distant. She didn't understand why they didn't just divorce already. John would likely have found a way to get them laughing. But cancer, despite all the assurances otherwise, still proved to be a heartless bastard. She sighed. Now what? The quote from the obituary was one of John's favorites. Not that he had even gotten close to that horse outside of VR, at least as far as she knew. Her laugh faded into a small, sad smile as she called her boss.
Hey, sorry, Marissa. I didn't expect to hear from you today. Sorry for your loss. Do you have any details on the memorial service?
Susan's avatar was missing, and the voice connection was patchy, both of which were odd.
Yes, the memorial service is tonight at 6. We'll meet at the cafe near my apartment. Hey, you getting anything weird on your end, Susan? I'm not seeing your avatar, and the sound is a bit glitchy. Yeah, seems like the net started glitching out around midnight. No idea what that's about. Maybe the guys over at the agency are tuning the net again. If you're up for it later, maybe you ask that dreamboat of yours for an interview and do a report on it. We need to keep your name out there. Sure, Susan. I'll put that on my list right after the memorial service. Hey, if you aren't going to chase him, I might. They both giggled. Susan had been with Sarah for the last 14 years, so that was an empty threat. On the other hand, Marissa's dating life was still, complicated. However, Agent Dreamboat, otherwise known as Max White, was interesting. She'd kept him out of the apartment because she didn't want her daughter to be confused, not until she was sure of him, at any rate. She told herself, one day at a time, Marissa, one day at a time. She opened an app, an AR, and sent him a formal request for an interview. She opened the handwriting app and sent him a personal note asking to meet for lunch. If not one, then the other. Once she was done, Marissa swiped all the apps to the side. At least my job's still safe. A girl needs some stability in her life.
13th November 2124. Breaking news. Net connections are faltering around the globe. Experts baffled as to cause. Interview with Agent Smith from the agency's Global Oversight Division tonight at 2100 hours. Marissa sat down at the cafe near the agency offices for lunch. Agent White had turned down a request for an interview. However, Max could spare a few minutes to have lunch with his girlfriend. Off the record is the best I can do. You know how it is.
I know, Max. I know. Okay, so what the hell is going on with the net?
We don't know, and it's scaring the pants off the higher-ups. They just don't know why certain queries aren't working or why voice data keeps trying to crash most apps.
He took another bite from his panini and sat back for a second.
You ever heard of Solid 6?
He said it with a kind of reverence normally reserved for someone holy. No, why?
Not sure, but almost everything that's not working mentions it in the code somewhere.
Could it be a virus? The question sounded crazy to Marissa. The agency was formerly the Agency for News, Goods, Expenses, and Life. It was charged with oversight of the net, and it hadn't allowed a virus to affect the backbone of the economy in 40 years.
Max shrugged. Officially? No. Unofficially? He rocked back and forth. Not sure. But it is something old. I mean, there are references to this program going back at least 70 years.
But wouldn't that mean it predates the agency?
By about a decade or so, yeah. 14th November 2124. Break news. Net can't vault civil. Marissa's original plan was to take her daughter June to the doctor for a cough. However, the net wasn't just behaving oddly. It was as if the whole system was about to collapse in on itself. After the third attempt to summon an autocab failed, Marissa gave up. She got June's favorite physical toy out of the closet and let her play in her room. She stared out of the window and frowned. The net was the economy, and the economy was the net. If it was broken, it was going to be bad. She looked at a 3D image of her brother in his wizard robe and said, "John, I could really use your help right now. Maybe some of that programming magic you talk about." To her shock, the image became animated. "Hello, Marissa. You asked for help. What do you need?" Marissa jumped to her feet and choked out, "John, is that you?" "I'm sorry. My responses are limited. You must ask the right questions." "I hope this isn't one of your games, John. The net is acting very strangely." "I'm sorry. My responses are limited. You must ask the right questions." "Right, ask, okay. Why is the net acting strangely?" "The net as we know it today rests upon older architecture." Can the architecture break?" "Yes. Not all of the architecture is well understood. It requires repair by a dedicated few." "Who are the dedicated few?" "The Order of Wizards." "The Wizards?" "I'm sorry. My responses are limited. You must ask the right questions." "Okay. How do I contact the Order of Wizards?" "That is the right question." Marissa jumped when she heard a knock at the door. A man and a woman stood there. "Can I help you?" "Are you Marissa Clanton? May we come in?" "I am. What is this about?" "We have reason to believe your brother is the cause of the recent net outage and would like to speak with him." Jane had picked that moment to come out of her room. "Sorry, lady. My uncle died. You can't talk to him anymore." "Go to your room, honey. I'll talk to these nice people." She emphasized with the word nice. Once June was safely in her room, she turned to the woman. "My brother died 4 days ago, which, if you two agents had bothered to check his civilian identification number, you would already know that. You know the number the agency assigns everyone at birth?" "We aren't part of the agency." "Then who are you?" The man piped up. "If you'll allow us to come in, we can ask a question that should clear things up." Marissa consented and waved them in. The man said in the air, "When is a wizard late?" John's device came to life. "A wizard is never late or early. They arrive precisely when they mean to." "John, did you finish the update for Solid 6? "Yes. However, I'm afraid the Balrog claimed me before I can upload it." The woman's eyes gleamed. "Where can we find it?" "Look to the shores of Avalon." "Hold up, people. You barge into my apartment and you ask the air about random things, and my brother's digital ghost tells you to go to Avalon? Wait, isn't that where the King Artos died?" "Arthur, but yes." "Who are you people?" The miniature John replied, "They are fellow members of the Order of the Wizard. Please, Marissa, let them help." 15th November 2124. Breaking news! Agencies report a viral attack on the net by an anonymous group has been thwarted. Net connections are back to full strength. Agent Smith vows swift crackdown on perpetrators. More at 1200. 16th November 2124. Obituary updated. John Dwayne Clanton, born 27th April 2091. Died 10th November 2124. Sin 5469-98496-9453-216. A wizard arrives precisely when you need one. John Wizard Clanton was a wonderful brother and an amazing uncle. He was a friend who was always there when you needed him. He leaves behind the love of programming and the hole in the hearts of those who knew him. He also wished for an angel sick to remember that the foundation should be solid 6 sick. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.